Bills.
Hello and welcome back to Coffee Tea with Anne Marie. It has been a minute since I did a show. I had a lot of stuff going on in the last year and a half or so, and so I haven't been able to do a show, but I am so excited to be back in the studio today. And I'm very excited because I'm bringing back a former, someone who was on the show before, Lisa, and she's going to talk more about the healing portion, or the coming through the abuse that she talked about in the first two shows. The first two episodes with Lisa were called The Abuse of My Flesh Didn't Break My Spirit, I think it was. And now we're going to talk about hurts, habits and healing. So hurts, habits, and healings. And so I want to welcome Lisa Brenderabrandis, back to the show. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. Such an honor. You're such a blessing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So yeah, just to kind of touch base on what we spoke about before, just like abuse and all of that, like the world really wants you to focus on the negative things, and like it leads to excuses as to why you act a certain way because, oh, well, it's understandable. She's been through a lot. And I don't want that to be a reflection of who I am, or like a victim, or have an excuse, because God's redeemed me, God's shaped me, and God is healing me. Like the whole process of that, it's really beautiful to see how God can work through so much of our experiences. A quote that I had read that kind of stood out to me is that like we should heal so that we don't bleed on someone who didn't cut us. And so just being in that like headspace and realizing like a lot of my actions were like excusable because of my past. But in recognizing like wanting to heal and become a better person and not hurt people that didn't hurt me. So it's just first recognizing our hurts and then dealing with that so that they don't turn into bad habits.
I think that's a very powerful statement, We've been hurt, we've been wounded, but there are a lot of people who we might take our aggression out on that didn't hurt us, that in fact that loved us, or that are trying to love us. And we might be pushing them away. And we often would do that with God too. Take our aggressions or our anger out on God, who is not the one who hurt us.
Yeah. So many people say, why did this happen to me? And then they blame God. And then,
right.
I love how in Romans 5:3-5, it talks about how suffering leads to endurance and character and gives us, like, it builds our hope. And then also in 1 Peter 1:6-7, it compares the process of what we were going through and how God's changing us to being refined like gold.
Okay.
And that whole process you endure heat. There's a whole, a lot that's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And what's beautiful is if you look into how a refiner refines gold, the refiner has to keep their hand on the device that's refining the gold. So the same way God is keeping his hand on us while we're being refined. So I think that's really like beautiful. And I know like we all endure like different types of hurt. So there's like physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's emotional abuse, financial abuse. Like there's so many different varieties that we all experience and we all go through. And those hurts, like if they're not healed and surrendered, like they can lead to the bad habits. So I know for myself, it was when I first started thinking about my own addiction, I focus on like the really bad, like, from 2004 to 2010, because I was really heavily into drugs. Like that was my addiction. But then recognizing when I started turning to God, going, okay, it goes further back than that, because it was 7th grade when I first like had a cigarette and I was like, ooh, I like that tingly feeling. And so trying to replace like the feelings of being hurt with the like numbness. And so turning to alcohol, and it's like all of those things kind of stemmed and started in 7th grade. But again, it was the pulling away from God, because like the friend that was inviting me to church, it's so silly, but I kind of see now that I was going to church for people. I wasn't going for God per se, right? So it's like, oh, my friend invited me, so I was going with her. Well, she got to skip 8th grade and go into 9th grade. And so I felt abandoned, and I was like, like looking back at it now, it's so silly, but like in that like preteen stage and like everybody leaves me, or, you know, like there's always a hurt that can stem from it. And so I got kind of distant with the church and I guess with God, obviously, because I didn't have God in my home at the time. So yeah, it's so interesting to see that when you're not on that right path or having guidance, you easily go into what the world does. The alcohol, the cigarettes, drugs, like all of those things to like have the numbness, but it's only a temporary fix. Like you're only numb for a little bit, and then when the drugs wear off and the alcohol wears off, like you're not just not numb anymore, but you have more problems because now you acted a certain way that you shouldn't have. And so it just like builds even more like negativity instead of.
So was there partying along with the alcohol and drugs and cigarettes?
Oh yeah. So
because that's also like for
influences.
the attention, you know, false love almost, you know, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I got her off track.
No, I know. It's just it's so wild because when I think back to like when I first started doing it, it was like I would always hide it though. And so I didn't want anybody to know because I was shameful, because I didn't want to be classified as one of those people.
Okay.
And so a lot of me doing it, it wasn't the party scene per se. It was like a closet type addiction because I wanted my like persona or how people perceived me. I wanted to be seen well.
Okay.
And so, especially like my drug addiction from 2004 to, 2010, it was very like, I thought hidden from my family, but you can tell, like my family knew. Praise the Lord that they didn't like shove me out, and they knew like, I guess God's discernment that it would just be a phase. And so praise God that it was just a phase. And with our habits, the verse that comes to mind is 1 Corinthians 10:13, that you will be tempted, but God will always give you a way out. And so I love that there's that way out. Like you don't have to fall so deep into that temptation. You don't have to hang out with those people. Like find new friends,
Yes.
like, but yeah. So also how in Psalms 91, 1-2, God promises that he'll be our safety. He'll be our refuge if we run to him. That in Hebrews 13:5, for us to be content, that God will never leave us or forsake us. Like that was a huge healing part for myself, because it's like recognizing that I am loved. Like when I did, because I felt very back and forth, like it was like a tug of war. Like I wanted to be with God, and I, was doing that back and forth. Because 9th grade, I really got heavily into alcohol. Like I was so bad that I would sneak, so bad, a water bottle of vodka, and like we would just, in the back of the math class, be passing it around. And I see in that 9th grade year, I really went very destructive, and I was doing it in the party scene to be cool in that section of life. But between 9th and 10th grade, I got pulled back into church because a friend said, hey, you want to get away from your parents for a week? And I was like, yes. And then they were like, yeah, there's this youth camp. So we went to Camp Sahali, and there I actually got caught with cigarettes. And I thought, oh my gosh, like it's just cigarettes. But the amazing youth leaders at the time gave me an option. They said, we're going to call your parents. They're going to drive all the way up here to Big Bear, pick you up, and take you home. Or, and I was like, whatever or is, that's what that's what I want.
I want the or.
Yeah, so it was kitchen duty, be up at the altar every night praying, and we want to see you singing the worship songs. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sing the songs, and I'm going to do all of the things. And again, it was like playing the role, and I'm doing the part. But one of the nights at camp when I was up at the altar, and I was just praying, and I was like, okay, like I'm up here, like what am I supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be talking to you. And then someone had come up and like put their hand on my shoulder, and they said, you can give it to God. And in my head, I thought, give what to God? And then the person said, all of it. And I like, all of it? And just the release that I had, where it was like the anger, the hurt, all the things that I had been carrying for so long, I just like gave it all up. When I came back from camp, my mom was like, she said I look like a different person. And I was like, I am a different person. But again, that's still that little back and forth within the world, and not because I didn't have the guidance in the home, which no offense to my mom, it's just, not something that she had done. And then I struggled even when I knew, like, okay, step away from alcohol, step away from the cigarettes, because I wanted to be new, right? I'm a new creation. I still really battled with like my anger, because it was like, God, well, why am I, in this situation? Why? And there's so many things that I wanted different. And like, to be honest, I can say like, God's timing is beautiful. It wasn't my timing, but like, I love my mom. She is such a different person now. But I remember being back as a teenager going, I want a different mom. And then now as an adult, like I have a different mom, but she's the same mom, but she's changed just the same way I have changed. And it's so beautiful to see that relationship now that God has blessed, which I'm so grateful for. But back in those years where I was really like struggling, but still feeling like the anger, and I didn't know how to get rid of all of it. Like, I guess a part of me didn't let go. Like, I kept a copy for myself. It's like, here, God, but like, I'm still going to hold these things here. And so I would have moments where I would, and like, I never hurt people because I thought like I would hurt myself. And so I thought, oh, it's okay because I'm not hurting anybody else. And so I started inflicting self-pain as like a way to release, because I was so mad. And the only way that I can describe it is by like having so much anger in you that once you cut yourself, like it was almost like, oh, that pain gave me the release. And then I felt better. And I always did it in an area where it was like a superficial cut. I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't want to be that girl. And then I would I didn't want it to get infected. So I would put rubbing alcohol, which gave me even more pain.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I was in this state of like, I guess, hating myself. And there were times when, like in my household where like my dad had struggled with his alcohol issues. So there was like some situations where he would come home and he would be too drunk and he would, be mad and yelling. And like, I always felt like everything is my fault. And so I would take that out on myself. Like, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. And it's always like me, like what's wrong with me? So, it was just like my outlet. The craziest thing was, like the worst thought that I ever had was in my 20s. And it was when I was like coming down off of the drugs, and I was so like in a space of anger and just wanting to be numb that, and it's so wild. I was sitting there thinking like, man, I wish I could just take a potato peeler to my skin because I didn't want to be like inside my body. Like I didn't want to be me. I wanted to be someone else. And so just battling with that and dealing with like not allowing myself to do the self-harm. because that was like my go-to. But yeah.
So, so in all the hurt that others had, and if we go back just to the previous episodes, you were abused as a young girl by a grandfather,
A step-grandfather.
a step-grandfather,
Yeah.
and sexually abused.
Yes.
And you weren't heard by your family.
No, so it was like a process where I remember like it was like fourth grade. So from fourth grade to fifth grade, or like fourth and fifth grade, it was like the slow build of getting affection that led into more sexual things. And then it led to more things. And then in sixth grade, there was like videos that were saying like, oh, if someone's touching you in a way that you don't like, say something. And I didn't know that meant to like say it to a trusted adult. So at 11 years old, I had all this courage and I actually like stood up for myself with him and he laughed at me and like took my virginity. And so I always say my innocence was completely taken because I don't like using like the words rape and things like that. But being an 11-year-old overpowered by, and I think maybe that's part of my hardship with like speaking up when it comes to men. Not that it takes me back to that space, it just makes me nervous, like because of that harm at such a young age. At first, my family was okay, you just won't go over there. But then because I had shared with the teacher was like, did you say something? And then that's when the police and everything got involved. And then when my parents, because I think my mom had a similar situation with a friend of hers. And at that time, back then, the solution that she experienced was, you just don't go over there anymore.
Right.
So instead, and like that's where it's really hard because families like, oh, let's keep it quiet because we don't want anybody to perceive us a certain way.
Right.
Whereas if we're speaking out, we're actually protecting the children.
Right.
So when we did come out and he did go to jail and all of that, her side of the family, my mom's mom, right? I don't call her grandma.
Okay.
So she told our family members, all the cousins and aunts and all of that, that I lied for attention. And so that side of the family for years, like we didn't talk. We actually rekindled our relationship with that side of the family after she passed away. My mom's mom passed away. And then it was like, oh, we didn't know. And like, I have no reason to lie about that. And then even there's paperwork that shows evidence that it had happened. So I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah. But all that hurt and all that, and at some point as kids, a lot of kids think it's their fault. And sometimes the adults want, like your grandmother, she, made it be your fault.
Yeah.
Like you're lying for attention.
Yeah. The last conversation that I had with her was on the phone. And I remember being upset, not understanding, because my mom was upset saying no, that my sister wasn't going to go over and make cookies with you for him. And I was like, what are you, like, it didn't make sense to me that they were still communicating with him. And so my mom had passed me the phone and, I take the phone and I'm like, okay, Grandma, like what? And then she goes, well, I think I'm going to stay with him, but do you want me to leave him? And my response was, do whatever you want to do. Because again, it goes back to the like, okay, you're not choosing me, you're choosing him. And it's not going to be, no. So that, it's another hardship.
And even to have the thought that this child should be making a decision like that.
An 11-year-old.
An 11-year-old, you're still a child. as 11-year-olds, we feel pretty grown up a lot of times, but we're not.
Yeah.
And then to try and put a decision, first of all, to even have the thought that you would stay with this man who, you didn't say it just now, but you said in the last show that he actually did plead guilty.
Yeah.
He pled guilty.
Yeah.
And she's going to stay with him.
And sorry, something something that my mom had said too was when all of this was coming out, she actually said, I want to talk to his family. And so my mom got in contact with his side of the family, and they said that they told her that this is who he was, and that's why he's not allowed around his family. His own daughter was going to testify alongside me.
Wow.
Because of what had happened to her.
Wow.
But then she got scared and backed out, and she told me, I'm sorry to put all of this on you. I wanted to help you, but like the backlash on her end as a grown adult, like she was like, I'm sorry, I can't. And she's like, I wish you the best. And I was just like, okay, well.
So she hadn't healed.
No.
Do you ever have contact with her or anything?
No. That would be an interesting thought, though, to reach out to her.
Yeah. Share with her your healing and how you've come, you have, I'm not sure that we ever, we're redeemed, the Lord takes it off, but there's still that scarring that he works on, I think probably for our entire life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you grow, but part of that is, like I know that because of what you've gone through, you have such a heart for the kids, and you want them to know the Lord, and you want to protect them. You wouldn't allow them not just your own kids, but here at church. You are such a loving leader to all the kids, and if any of them didn't feel like they were loved at home, they couldn't not feel like they were loved here. And it's an awesome, result. I hate to say it, that it's the result of abuse, but it is. It's the transformation. And that's, part of what we're talking about today is the transforming power of God. Because a lot of people will say, like we said, well, how could you let this happen? And where were you? And he was always with you. Yeah. He was always with you, protecting you. And we don't understand why things happen. We don't necessarily understand why they're allowed, but God has a plan for us. Yeah. He truly does.
Well, and what's beautiful too is when we experience things, we can help others that go through the same experiences. Right. And I think that's part of the blessing that we can be.
Right.
It's unfortunate that bad things happen, but at the same time, it's being able to connect with people and say, I was in that same darkness, let me show you a way out.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can take that bad and
make it good.
And good and do something good with it.
Ooh,
right.
Romans 8:28. Yes. God works all things for good.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. So just before we leave this episode, if somebody is going through it right now, why don't you talk to them for a minute or two and give them a word of encouragement, or how would you recommend they deal with it or walk through it, or maybe they have dealt with it and now they're trying to find that release and that forgiveness.
Yeah.
Talk to the people.
Talk to you guys. Yes, I was talking with Anne Marie. So I think a huge part of it is just learning that you're loved, that God is with you, you're never alone, and just surrendering it to him. Don't hold on to anything, just fully give it to God. I know the process of things is hard. When you're in it, it feels like this is all I'm ever going to experience. But being on the other side of it, it's so beautiful. And trusting God's process through it all. I couldn't have expected that my life would be what it is now had I have not like that comparison, right? So going through all of that and now seeing the good. There were 3 specific times in my life. It was in my teenage years, in my 20s, and then even in my 30s that I came really, really close to committing suicide. And had I have given up in that moment, like that would have been it for me. Like I wouldn't have the blessings and the promises and the goodness of God beyond that darkness. Like I would have ended in the darkness. So if you are in your darkness right now, know that God is right there with you. Lean on him. Let him lead you out of it. Don't stay there. Your mind is like you can control your mind. If you take the thought captive, if it's negative, don't let it simmer. Don't let it sit there. Throw it away. Sit on God's promises. Sit with hope, with love, and just recognizing that God loves you. You are enough, and don't let the world tell you any different.
Excellent. Well, I'm so honored that you came back, and we're going to go have another show next week. And you're going to, go.
The healing process.
The healing process,
Yes.
yes. And we just know that like all things are possible through the
God.
Lord.
Yes.
And he heals us, and he doesn't want us to live in that broken, hurt state. But we have to get to that point of acknowledging and accepting and surrendering. So I ask that you come back to us next week. You have a wonderful week. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for coming to watch Coffee and Tea with Anne Marie.
Thank you.